What is up, besties? It's your girl, the Karmic DF, back to you again to basically kind of apologize, but more so explain. So I want to start off by saying, and I'll link it in the box if need be, but the Trump video that I did received a lot of heat, a lot of backlash, a lot of, Mindy, you're biased, you're a Trump supporter, you don't get it. And I hear you. I understand what you're talking about. My goal with that reading, and my goal in general, is to not feed the fear and to also give us another perspective. Now, I can see how people would kind of assume based on that reading that I'm this like diehard Trump supporter. I support everything he does. I'm not a fan. I mean, I do hate the Democrats, but honestly, I hate the system as a whole. I don't think anything will be done well unless there's systemic change from the ground up. And I feel like politics in general, it's a really great example. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the trolley problem. Basically, you're driving a train, right? And on the right is one person, and on the left is 5 people, and the brakes are going. Which one do you choose? You usually would pick the one to save the many, right? But then you can change that, and this is why I love philosophy and psychology so much, because it proves that life is always morally gray. Let's say now that one person on the right is the love of your life, your best friend, your parent, your whatever. Are you going to save the many for the one? Or now, because morally, that one, those 5 people are strangers. Do you see what I'm saying? So my point with this is that life is complicated and it's full of challenges. And when we do big moves to change the world, or just to change America in this situation, people are going to get hurt. Obviously, there are people that are gender fluid. And I've said time and time again, I do not agree with how Trump is treating transgender people and people that are on the spectrum of fluidity, that is gender. But if I sat there and I focused on every single negative thing that he does, I would be no better and no different than the news channels that I tell you guys not to watch anymore. It's not. The whole point of that Trump video was I wanted to get into his mindset, but I also wanted to give you guys an understanding. I feel personally that we limit ourselves dramatically when we don't try to understand other people's perspective, other people's point of view, especially when we don't agree with it, right? Because like I said, I'm pro-choice. Fuck you if you're going to touch my uterus. No opinion. It's mine. You know what I mean? So it's not that I'm saying everything Trump does is right. I don't believe that at all. I think he's actually he's an old man. He doesn't get it, right? He doesn't understand that gender is not your sexual organs. He's not trying to learn, which is part of the problem, which is why I'm saying if you can see that it's an issue that he's not trying to learn from something that he doesn't understand and is biased to, how would I be any better for not trying to learn and understand what I am biased to? I don't agree with the removal of transgender people in the Army. I don't fully understand. I know a couple of people made a comment that said something about paying for their procedures and stuff. I don't know. I do know that I have a couple transgender friends, and that if they had to lose their job because of who they are, like that is heartbreaking. I'm not diminishing these things is what I feel I need to say. So this may not feel like an apology video because to an extent it's not. I know these things, right? I know that he's hurting people. I know that people are getting misplaced. I know that there's mass deportations. I know that there are good people that are going to be screwed, right? I know that. You know that. We all know that. But what we're not understanding is the complexities of the human mind. What we're not understanding is what his end goal is, what the end game for him doing these things are. And so my goal with that reading was to make us understand so that we don't have to approach this with this fear-mongering mindset that the news has projected on us. We don't have to be afraid because every time I tap into his energy, is there a little bit of bias towards race? Kind of, a little bit, I'm not going to lie. But the media is saying he's a full-blown racist. No, he's not. I've met full-blown racists. That is not it, okay? And so I want you to know the truth. And sometimes the truth may not fit what you want to hear. Are people getting screwed because of things he's doing? Yeah, absolutely. But remember how I've been saying, it was in my 2025 prediction video, and I've mentioned it before, that he wants to bring power back to the states because the federal system has too much power. They're taking all of our money, and they're not making better and bigger changes. And I had said prior to this, prior to him even getting in office, that I saw him really, really focusing on the children and wanting to build them back up, have hope, have color blindness, and he knows that the system itself is just, it's old, it's faulty, and it needs to be changed. And then what did I see on the news recently? That I think he's trying to fire the whole Department of Education. So I understand that this is tough. But going back to the trolley situation, right? People are going to get hurt. People are going to be put in positions that they don't like. People are going to lose their jobs. They're going to have to deal with racism. But we can't blame one person for it because it's a systemic issue that's been happening for generations. His intentions overall are pretty good. It's just that there is some ignorance. There is some bias. And for me to just harp on that would just be adding to the fear that is polluting our world currently. And I didn't want to do that. And so I hope that, because I saw a couple of comments where it's like, I'm having a hard time dealing with this, but I'm going to sit down and I'm going to try to see it from their perspective. That was the goal all along. It's not for you to go, oh, I love Trump. He's the greatest. He's going to save us. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying we need change, and he's most likely to break shit down. But when we have major change, someone's always going to get hurt because change requires us to grow, evolve. And sometimes change is bad. Sometimes it's him pretending that gender fluidity doesn't exist. But in times like that, I don't want to keep powering the narrative of be scared and you're not in control of your life, because that doesn't do anyone any good. I lived a life, and this is why I'm so passionate about it. I used to live a life where I was always the victim and I was always blaming someone else for my problems. And to an extent, I was right. There were people that were constantly intentionally hurting me, but no one ever taught me that if I had just built up my sense of self, like 99% of my problems would have been gone. And they don't teach us that. And so that was always the goal with these political readings. It's to get you to understand both sides and then make your own conclusions, but also to feel empowered, right? Because, okay, let's talk about him removing the option for non-binary. My non-binary people, I love you guys. I understand. So instead of going, oh my God, the world is over, I have to click female when I don't agree that I'm female. But in the end of the day, do you believe you're non-binary? If the answer is yes, then keep building yourself up so that when this happens to you, instead of getting all worked up over a piece of paper, know that you are valid yourself regardless of what anyone has to say. Fuck them. You know what I mean? Respectfully, fuck them. As for, transgender people being released from the army, I'm not educated enough to be able to say anything other than I know from personal experience, being spiritual myself and in the spiritual community, that you can't lose something that is, you can't lose what, can you help me, Spirit? As much as I don't want to channel today. If something is for you, you won't lose it. So even with this happening, it always creates something else, right? Like, I'm not saying this is okay. I'm not saying it at all, but it did pop in my head, so I got to bring it up. Without people having been racist a long time ago, there would have been no Martin Luther King Jr. to go and fight on their behalf. So maybe what's happening now is building up people that are going, enough is enough, and they're going to fight for the things that they care about. When do we change, right? I say this in every video. When do we change? When our back is against the wall. So maybe, again, this is why I keep trying to rephrase the narrative, but people just aren't picking up what I'm trying to say here. I could focus on all the bad. I could easily do that. But we all know what it is. the point is, let's understand his mindset. Let's get ahead of the things that may impact us. And let's empower ourselves because, again, like for instance, how many times have you been in a relationship where they treated you like crap and you tried so hard to make it work, and in the end, it didn't fucking work because they weren't for you? And we as a society, as a species, are terrified of change because look, our world's not very stable. And so when things change, we feel like a victim and we feel like we're not in control of our own lives. And then we just admit defeat. Like, I don't know why Spirit's drawing me to this, but here to out myself so that you guys understand. Y'all know, if you've been a regular, I was an alcoholic, very depressed, blamed the whole world, was hoping one day one shot would take me out. And I ended up crashing my car drunk. And, society standards, that makes me a piece of shit, right? But instead of deciding that was going to be my fate, instead of letting that be my story forever and just keep drinking and blame the world until it eventually took me out, this is why I'm now so passionate about mental health and addiction. I decided to go, well, what is making me feel like I need to run away from myself? What is making me feel like I'm not in control of my own life? What is making me feel like I'm not enough? And a lot of time, most of the time, it's really a mirror of our own wounds. People are constantly poking the parts of us, not intentionally, but sometimes, that aren't healed so that we can see it because we're biased to ourselves, right? Think about when you gain weight and you don't realize it until someone's like, whoa, you put on a few pounds, and it's like, well, I see me every day. I don't notice. When we're in ourselves, you know what I mean? It's kind of hard to see the bigger picture, which is why everyone mirrors shit back to us. So going back to that video, right? I didn't have to tell you that people are getting fucked by things that Trump's doing. We all know that. That would just me. I could say the sun rises tomorrow. We know that. It's not me being a Trump apologist. I can understand why you feel that way. But my goal has and will always be to give you the information necessary to make your own decisions. Going back to me being the alcoholic, right? I could have been like, all right, this is my life. It is what it is. I'm just going to drink myself to death, need a new liver, die, whatever. But instead, I was like, all right, well, I'm obviously in a lot of pain. There's no one else around that's going to help me. They've proven that. So what am I going to do about it? Am I going to consistently wait for someone else to save me? Or am I going to save myself? And in a world right now, especially, where empathy is at an overload because we're worried because all of this change does come with people getting screwed over and people being hurt, we have to rein that in and go, what am I going to do with this information? What am I going to do with this pain that I feel in my heart? Is this going to, for instance, y'all know my spouse passed. I've been thinking of ways where I want to find a mental health nonprofit that I believe in, and then I want to start donating under his name. I think eventually, and let me know if you guys want me to, I think eventually I'll do one of those the tiers on YouTube, and then I think 25% of the proceeds I'll donate to mental health because it matters to me. But we have to start reframing that narrative, right? It sucks that he died. I would do anything to have him back in my life, but he's gone. So instead of me sitting here and crying every day, I cry when I need to, but instead of me being like, oh, it's the end of the world, I just can't go on. That's not what he would want for me. That's not what the universe wants for us. They want us to succeed. And a lot of times we have to realize that we're the biggest reason we're not succeeding. When our emotions are getting so overwhelmed, look at how Selena Gomez posted a video, got attacked online, and then deleted it because she was emotional. And we don't accept emotions in this world still. We've come a long way, but we're not fully there yet. And so basically, to summarize this video, I want to say that if you're someone that's being negatively impacted by these things, when Trump was in office last time, a lot of states banned abortion. I cannot imagine what it'd be like to live somewhere like that. I empathize with you. I am sorry that you are going through these things. But please, please, don't let a president, don't let the news, don't let other people be an excuse for you to not find your best life, even in the hardest of times. You guys have been, a lot of you that are regulars have grown with me and seen me go through so much shit. I lost the love of my life. I had to cut off family members. I had to cut off friends. I've been really lonely. I've been secluded because I've raised my standards on the people around me. Change is painful. Change is hard. Change is going to come with shit that we don't like. But I can sit here and do a million readings and tell you what you already know, that people are suffering, or I can help you go, hey, this is the information we got. This is what his intentions are. Yeah, shit's going to go down. People are going to get fired. People are going to be, diminished as to who they are as an individual. But that's the time where you empower yourself. That is the time where you go, I don't want this to be my story, so how do I fight back? If you're someone who's non-binary, maybe this will force you to make a YouTube or be someone who, it's reminding me, what's her name? I don't know her name. She's like 18. I think she's like Swedish or something, and she fights for like climate change. When we get angry, we get passionate. We get passionate, we have new creative ideas, and then we inspire others around us. So please understand moving forward, because I don't want to stop doing the politics videos because people are getting so angry. I want you to understand why I frame it the way that I do. It's not to diminish anyone's pain. The pain is very real. But what are we going to do about it, right? I've been # Me Too. Did that stop me from dating? No. I had to work on myself, find myself, heal. But when we feel like we're the victims of our lives, then we're going to get exactly that. Now, I'm not saying that, again, people are being put in horrible situations. People are being deported that have whole ass families. And that, I've even had this conversation with my family where I feel like they should come up with something like back taxes. If someone skips taxes, they either have to pay it or go to jail, right? So instead of deportation, why don't we find something in the middle where it's like, okay, caught ya, bitch. No offense, but caught ya. And now this is how much you owe, so you could stay here. Like, I'm not saying everything he's doing is shit that I agree with. That has never been the case. It has never. In fact, every time I take a test, I am way more Democratic than anything else. I just know that, at least having been a Democrat most of my life, they just remind me so much of the child that's the president that's saying, I'm going to bring the Coca-Cola machine. No, you're not. You never do. You never do. I also don't like a lot of things that the Republicans stand for, right? You're never going to get me to be pro-life. And I thought there was a separation of church and state. So why is there so much church in the Republican side? What about people that practice Hinduism? What about the Jewish community? I thought America was free for all. There are things that I disagree with. I promise you that. But I don't want to focus on that because every other psychic's going to focus on that. They're going to focus on the negative. They're going to focus on where he's going wrong. But we all know that. We all know that he's biased. We all know that he has a little subconscious racism within him. But I want you guys to see the good because no one else is focusing on that. We all know the bad. I don't need to recover that. And then if you're someone who's being impacted by this, how can you use this as fuel for your life? Maybe you're really passionate because you're non-binary and this is happening and now you want to go and speak out, and then 5 years from now you're on a TED Talk empowering millions of people just like you. A lot of times, instead of looking at it as the world is over, it's ending, this teaches us to figure out who we are, who we're going to become in the face of being pushed back against the wall. That was my point and intention with the video. That's why throughout the video I kept saying, not that I agree with this, not that I like this. And I even said in certain parts, the transgender one, I was like, I'm not very educated in this. I am honest with you guys. I'm not going to bullshit you, which is why I'm not saying I apologize, I was wrong, because I was just telling you what I was seeing. And I'm sorry that this shit sucks. And I'm sorry that people are going to get hurt. But when do we switch from blue to red, red to blue? Someone always gets hurt, right? When it's the blue team, there's a lot of Republicans that are losing their mind over, I don't know, because I never really listened to them. Because back in 2020, I was a Democrat, and if I saw anyone write the word Trump, I would delete and remove them, friends, family. And so I know from personal experience, I've let my emotions get the best of me to the point that I've removed really great relationships. You have to understand that there's a reason a lot of people in your waking life don't talk about politics. You probably have a neighbor or two that completely disagree with you. I had a conversation with someone that, how do I word that? Someone I know that I smoke with. I'll leave it at that. And he was telling me about how he's pro-Trump and he went, I'm pro-life. And I felt my body tense because I was like, especially because you're a man. I'm like, But then he was like, But I believe that it's okay for extreme circumstances. And you know what? He's entitled to his opinion, even if I don't agree with it. And I don't agree with it. I feel like, I mean, I don't think anyone is waiting until month 8 to, but I do think that people have the right to take their matters into their own hands when it comes to their body. Anyway, the point is, we need to learn to agree to disagree, or else this world is going to head in the direction you don't want it to head in. If you can't learn to hear someone else's viewpoint without losing your shit, you are not going to do well as these years continue, because Trump is dedicated to taking everything down so that this world looks nothing like the way he found it. I mean, he's made it very clear, right? So what are we going to do with that information? Are we going to consistently feel like a victim in our own lives, or are we going to see that when life hands us lemons, we can always turn it into lemonade? When something is removed from our life, it's because better is coming in. So maybe, so many people get deported that they come together and they come up with the solution that I just mentioned. It's when we come together and find solutions instead of just flipping the fuck out. And I don't know if it's because I'm a millennial and I was here before the internet was a big thing, but we didn't always feel like victims because we weren't constantly being bombarded with all of this shit. And when we see all of it constantly and we hear other people's opinions, I mean, the news alone on both sides, they use their opinions in something that should be fact-based. Which is why I did so much research for the Trump video, because I couldn't find any of the facts. I just found a bunch of people fear-mongering. Honestly, if I could sue Rachel Maddow for scaring the F out of me during the lockdown, I would. And that's why I'm so passionate about this. I want the people on my page to feel like they are in control of their own lives, and that regardless of the situations at hand, you will find a solution. And everything is an opportunity to start anew and to empower yourself, to be more educated, to be more intelligent, so that the next time you're having an argument about politics, you know your shit. Go watch the Trump video. I did so much research on the DEI. Why couldn't I find where that money was going? I mean, I'm sure eventually they'll figure it out or something. I don't know. But the fact that it took me 2 days and I couldn't find where that money was going, and I was seeing in the energy that the federal people don't give a shit about people of color. They don't give a shit about women. It is like a boys' club. And so when I see him trying to break down those structures, and I see him trying to bring power back to the states to make their own choices so that the few are not controlling the many, then yeah, a lot of bad shit's going to come with that, but there's going to be good that comes with it too. There's never been a time, I mean, I can't speak for, but at least as long as I've been alive, I don't really feel that there has ever been a time where 100% of people were truly happy with the president that we had and the decisions that they were making. All that I'm saying is, with that video, and if you guys want me to do more politics videos moving forward, I need you to understand how I approach these videos. It is not at all to promote any form of division, because we are all brothers and sisters. We are 99.9% the same DNA as everyone. We are all in this together. I weep for anyone that's going through this shit. It breaks my heart. I have a sister who is like mostly lesbian. Sorry to out you, girl, if somehow you're watching this. And her boyfriend's a little fluid, and she's terrified. She's a kid, and she is afraid that she's going to be in danger. And it's like, because that's what they're creating, mass hysteria. And I'm not going to do that on my page. And if that looks like I'm a Trump apologist, then so be it, because I do not want you guys to feel like you are not in control of your own life. And I want you to look at it as an opportunity to learn about the world around you, learn about politics, learn about the people that you are voting for, learn from the ground up, because apparently all the power is going back to your government. So now let's be focused a little bit more on, it's not just blue or it's not just red. Let's listen to people when they have their debates. Let's hear what they want to do for us. And let's also realize that change will always hurt somebody. It always will. I'm not okay with that, and I wish that we lived in a world where everyone could just be happy. You know how like the USA pageants, they're like world peace. That's what I want. That is what I want. I do want world peace. I want everyone to be happy, but I also have to show the good when it comes to bad people sometimes. And he's not bad. He's just out of touch, but he's a businessman And right now, when we're all crying about inflation and we're crying about prices, I mean, me personally, yeah, okay, what if I have the rights to get a shmushmorshin? I feel like I'm saying it too many times. What if I have the rights to get it, but I don't have any money because the Democrats are saying everything I want to hear, but nothing's changing? And, to be devil's advocate, because there's so many people involved in this, a lot of shit doesn't end up changing because, they got to deal with the U.S. Senate and all of that. So basically, to just summarize this video, I hope that you can stick around with me if you can begin to understand that my intentions were never to diminish the pain of those that are being negatively impacted. We already know that's going on. I am not excusing that that's happening. I am not saying that it's okay. It's affecting people in my family, my real life. And that breaks my heart. But if we don't take this as an opportunity to educate ourselves and to find a new door. Yeah, I'm hearing when one door closes, another one opens. What's that song? Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. So maybe instead of seeing things as, oh my God, it's the end of the world, let's start looking at it as, what can this teach me? What can this teach me about myself? My emotions are not equivalent to the event. What's going on here? A lot of times I had to walk away from all the comments in the Trump video because I was just I was pissed, to be honest. I was really pissed because the yous that have been here long enough know that I have love for everyone, every denomination of human, because when you hurt, I hurt. And that's why I can't watch the news, because it breaks my heart. We have to understand that we have to ebb and flow with the change that's coming, because we can be pissed about it all we want, but it's already in motion. Things are already changing. So instead of focusing on the bad, I don't want to do that on this channel. I want to focus on empowering you to be educated, to then make your own decisions and then go, can I make a difference somehow? Maybe this inspired you to start doing research on deportation, right? And then you started to learn about that, and then you got passionate, and maybe that sparked you to now get a job in that situation. And that was the goal for your soul all along. We don't understand the bigger picture. We just have to follow the breadcrumbs. And if this is what's happening right now, I trust that it's what's meant to happen. Whether that means that he's going to unintentionally start a lot of protests, maybe a lot of women will come together because they're worried about their reproductive rights, which I understand. A lot of times we have to realize bad things create powerful, strong people. And I hope that you can understand that with that video, my intention was never to disrespect. It was never to diminish people's pains. It was simply to get you to see someone else's perspective and then do with that information what you will. I got into his head. I got into his mindset. I told you where he was really coming from. And it's not as bad as what the news is saying. And it's not necessarily the greatest either. It's always in the gray area. That's most of life. You're not a good person. You're not a bad person. You're a person. He's not going to get everything right. No president will ever get everything right. And to focus on just the bad would be a disservice to you guys, because then how will you know how to empower yourselves? And you deserve to empower yourselves. When do we step up in life? When life gets hard. So maybe the bad shit that's happening will create new people that are passionate about it to make a change. That's how this world is so beautiful. It creates opportunity, but usually, think of nepotism kids, right? They don't have that fire within them because they've never went without. When we know what it's like to suffer, when we see the people we love suffering, it makes us that much more passionate. If I hadn't gone through my 20s being victimized by people that pretended to be my friends and family members that couldn't understand me and relationships that were just treating me like trash, would I have been passionate about self-worth and teaching you guys about it? Would I have been passionate about knowing my boundaries and knowing what I deserve and I don't deserve? I didn't know any of that until life threw me so many lemons that I had no choice but to try and make lemonade. So that is the point here. That was the goal with that reading. I am sorry if it came across as me thinking, or as you getting the impression that I thought that it is okay for people to hurt. It is never okay. But I don't want to make you guys feel like you don't have any control in your life and that the world's going to fall apart. The world's going to change. It always does. what attitude do you want to approach this with, is my question, because that was always the goal. So I hope that this helped. I'm sorry that it was so divisive. That was not my intention. It was just to help people feel safer, better, like they have a little bit more control, so that you don't have to have panic attacks every day. Like I see the people I love being affected by this. I'm not naive to that. But I don't want you guys walking away from my videos and feeling more scared than you already do. I want you to get into their mindsets the way that I do. This is why I study psychology. This is why I like learning about that stuff and studying as much as I can about politics, so that I can be informed, and then I can make decisions from a place of logic and education instead of a place from fear. When we live through our emotions like that, we don't make the best decisions for ourselves. Trust me, I ask my 20s, I would know. So I hope that this helped. If you decide that, yeah, I can't follow someone like that, I understand. I would prefer that you do that instead of try and say that. Like a lot of the comments, which just makes no sense, was calling me biased, but you weren't listening, and that's probably not you if you're this far into the video. But those people that were like, you're so biased, you didn't finish the video. I know you didn't finish the video, and you didn't try to remove your emotions and see it from someone else's perspective. That doesn't mean that it's right. Like, for instance, I follow someone on Instagram that is a diehard flat earther. Do I believe in that? No. But does that mean that I don't find it fascinating why people think the way that they do? Do you see what I'm saying? It's just, if we learn, we feel safer because we get it, even if it means something that we don't want it to be. So I'm going to leave it here, besties. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Again, I am sorry that it went the way that it did. I'm sorry that it looked like I don't care, because I do. I care so much. But I just don't want to focus on the negative. I want to focus on where we can head from here. And I wanted to focus on the good things that can come from this. And there are a lot of good things that can come from this, but just like every force of change, bad things are going to happen too. So I love you guys so much. Thank you for hearing me out. Let me know if maybe now you understand a little bit better. And if you want me to continue doing politics, at this point, I don't really think y'all can stop me, to be honest. Because if I handle that shitstorm, I think I can handle some more. But I don't want to lie and do the thing that you're accusing me of, which is being biased, so that I fit a narrative you want to hear. I'm never going to do that. I'm going to give you the truth. I'm going to tell you what I'm seeing. And being in his energy, because I was literally in his energy, that's how I do it. I didn't feel anything other than the system is broken. I want all of it. Like when you're just like, fuck it, I can't stand this anymore. And so you just rip up everything in your house and you start anew, even though there was plenty of things in there that was still good. That's kind of his energy. It's like, I can't do it. It's all bad. I want it gone. There are problems that come with that, but there's also good. Life is not this or that. It's always a spectrum. And if you can understand that removing non-binary is a problem because gender is a spectrum, then you need to also understand that life is a spectrum. Many things are a spectrum. I was just trying to give you hope and get you into his mindset, and then what you do with that information is up to you, bestie. But I in no way support diminishing people's identities. I in no way support people having to leave their home last minute. I don't support any of that. But we need to find something, because we're over $36 trillion in debt, and America is being laughed at by a lot of other countries. And so if we educate and we build ourselves back up and we decide what we want to do with this information, right? Going back to me becoming a psychic, I really wanted to help with mental health. That has always been my goal. And if you watch my pop culture readings, I throw a lot of psychology in there so that you guys can learn while you're being entertained. So that way, you don't end up dating a Justin Bieber that's got all these emotional baggages, and you don't fall for the mainstream music if that's something you want to get into. Now you know, so that you can make your own choices. My goals is not to put my opinions, for the most part, into these readings. My goal is to give you the facts that I'm seeing, and then you make your own decisions. My opinion doesn't matter. Yours does. What are you going to do with the information provided for you? So I'm going to leave it here. I'm done, besties. Let me know what you guys thought. I love you guys so much. My heart is with everyone that is being negatively impacted by this. I promise you that. It doesn't go unnoticed. It fucking sucks. And I just want you guys to feel like you have some form of control over your lives so that you don't feel like you're drowning when all this change is coming and will continue to come. Love you guys, besties. I will see you guys in my next video.